to 2.2% in April. For this month, on a monthly basis, both food and non-food inflation increased to 2.2% and 2.1% from 1.6% and 1.9% respectively. And again, on a monthly basis, what you see some price pressures on meat, vegetables, and items such as table salt and cooking oil. With respect to the non-food, the same items which pushed up the annual non-food prices, which were footwear, and then concrete blocks, charcoal and firewood, also were responsible on a monthly basis. With respect to geographical developments, we again see, as in the previous month, we see that Northern Province continues to be above the national average, followed by Central Province, Southern Province being the lowest in terms of inflation at 16.8%, Northern Province 34.9%. Now the previous slide again, what we've been attempting to do is to pick the items as they are, so that you're able to appreciate the movement in the prices and therefore the impact, the bearing they've had on non-food prices. So this is basically the concrete blocks. You've got iron sheets, steel door frames, cement. Now the prices are basically stable, but what you see there is that the construction materials, basically you've had some increase in their prices on account of the slowdown or the fall in prices of food items such as cereals, fish and fruits. You remember that some months before we were reporting the prices of cereals increasing, but now there's some kind of positive developments in that area. However, we recorded some increases in prices of some non-food items, which mostly footwear, concrete blocks, iron sheets, and steel door frames. So you are seeing some items coming from the construction sector, the prices kind of edging upwards. Previously we were reporting it was cement, but now we've noticed that there is an upward increase in the prices of some of those construction items, and therefore what you see is the non-food inflation increasing to 17.5% from 17% in March. The next slide basically again want to just see the speed of inflation in the first 4 months of 2021 compared to that of the first 4 months in 2020. We still see the speed of inflation being higher in the first 4 months this year at 10.5%. Normally you call it year to date, compared to 7.5% the same period last year. And basically what you are seeing, it's more of the food again, which was at 12.7% compared to 6.4% year to date. Non-food actually was lower at 7.9% 2021 compared to 8.4% year to date 2020. The next highlight is on the monthly inflation, and this is how notorious inflation is. Previously, we've been reporting from January 4 in monthly inflation from 3.7% to 1.7% in March. However, during the month of April, we recorded an increase in monthly inflation to 2.2%, more or less like going back to what it was in February, though lower. And much of it, both the food and non-food inflation, this rose to 2.2% and 2.1% from 1.6% and 1.9% respectively. Now, on a monthly basis, again, you see that we see meat there. It's still, I think the prices are still sticky, going downwards. They seem to be pushing up. And then vegetables as well. Again, we did mention the drivers of the non-food inflation on an annual basis were footwear, concrete blocks, charcoal, firewood. Now, this also was similar to the month of April. So you see concrete blocks being one of those items whose prices went up. Then charcoal perhaps, and firewood perhaps we're getting to the cold season. Then the next slide. So that is that on the annual and the monthly. So basically the annual, we are saying a slowdown to 22.7% from 22.7%, but a slight increase and an increase on a monthly basis. Again, here now we try to pick out the items under the non-food that we said were responsible in driving inflation up. So what we've picked there is concrete blocks. You can actually see the green is April 2021 compared to the blue, which is 12 months back. You see some kind of an increase there. Then also we've picked the iron sheets, which we did explain also. You see the green on an annual basis, 187.81 kwacha, that's per sheet, 3 meters compared to 110.5 kwacha 12 months ago. And also we are showing in March what it was. So you see some increase on an annual basis as well as monthly basis. We again compared the steel door frames, the ordinary steel door frames. You also see some price increases from 302.56 kwacha to 436.26 kwacha in April. That's over a 12-month period. Again, you'll see the 416.56. That is the price obtaining in March. Again, you see an increase. Cement, what you are seeing now is that I think it's flattening. If you look at, you compare on a monthly basis, that has flattened. Charcoal also slightly, but some slight increase. This is a slide that we always show the graph. We have an interest in tracking prices of mini meal, both breakfast and roller meal. You actually see some slowdown on a monthly basis. Breakfast declined by 13.36 on average nationwide, while roller meal declined by 21.47 nationwide on average. This basically is a comparison of various average prices we've been tracking over the past, I think, 4 months or so, just to see. So you see some kind of, on a monthly basis, some kind of leveling off. I think we're not getting much from meat, some slight increase, but generally you see some kind of leveling off in terms of the increases. This one is fish. Also, we had been reporting that on an annual basis, you had seen some kind of increase. We are seeing some kind of a slowdown, or in fact, if you look at the dried fish, both in Pulungu and Siavonga, we see a decline on a monthly basis, as well as the dried brims. We see a decline 1 kg basis, and almost stable in terms of the other type of fish, buka buka, the 1 kg. This we still see some upward pressure on prices of cooking oil on national, in terms of national average. As you can see, the other ones I think are okay. The 2.5 liters continues to increase. Well, this is just a chart showing you the comparison in terms of the national average price of the 25 kg breakfast mini meal in April. You see that only 4 provinces were below the national average, and you had the other 5 above the national average, with the highest price obtaining in Northern Province, the lowest price obtaining in Lusaka Province for the 25 kg breakfast mealie meal. Again, the roller meal, I think the prices seem to be tracking each other, except that I think Luapula, Northern, Western provinces were above the national average, with the Western province having the highest price of average price of 131 kwacha 91 ungwe per 25 kg of roller meal. The lowest being in Southern province at below 100 kwacha per 25 kg of roller meal. This one, we're coming to the provincial inflation. Again, it's important to try and understand inflation, how it's behaving based on geographical regions, and the geographical regions here are the provinces. I think we continuously we are seeing inflation is quite an issue in Northern Province. It's normally, I think in most months, it's normally above the national average. This month again, we're reporting that it's at 34.9%. Now that's compared to 22.7%, which is the national inflation average. And you still have Central, Western, and Lusaka average inflation rates being above the national average of 22.7%. And then you've got five provinces which had inflation below the national average, with Southern Province being the lowest at 16.8%. These are just the contributions, with Lusaka Province being the highest at 6.7% percentage points. Let's go to the next slide. So that is that on inflation, a slowdown on an annual basis and an increase on a monthly basis, and much of it a bit of the food prices, but not so much this time around. And then we've seen some non-food, some items in construction, that is concrete blocks, steel doors, door frames, oils also we are seeing, but also seeing footwear across all categories also pushing the prices up. In terms of the region, you are seeing Northern Province with the highest inflation, in fact above the national average, and Southern Province having the lowest inflation. Now, the next discussion basically is on international merchandise trade. As usual, we try to measure or estimate cumulative trade, that is starting from January to date. Now, we report trade with a lag of 1 month, so the trade will be as up to end of March. What you are seeing is that there's been an increase in cumulative total trade up to March 2021 of 71.3%. And you actually see that is 80.47 billion compared to 46.9 billion kwacha last year. The next slide basically, I think this again just reiterates the dominance of road in terms of trade. Road being the highest, followed by rail, both in volume and value, as on the next slide. Yeah, even if you look at the value, in value terms, road again picks up much of the chunk, more than 56%, and that is both for exports as well as imports. So this one is basically imports taking up more than 56% in terms of volume of imports, followed by rail, which is just the patry 3.6%. Next slide. The next one is basically trade balance. The month of March reported a trade balance of 7.3 billion kwacha, a slight fall from 8.1 billion in February, something like 10% fall. And this is largely again on account of a higher increase in imports of 30.7% compared to 10.7% increase in exports. What you realize from here is that previously we were reporting higher trade balances that were increasing. And much of that was, if you remember very well, we had consistently low imports, okay? And then higher exports, basically of intermediate products, basically copper, and from time to time, non-traditional exports. Now, it appears we are still increasing, exports are still increasing, but there's been a pickup in terms of imports. And that may point to a bit of unlocking from the sources of the imported items, and even could actually mean increased economic activity, both economic activity and consumption locally. So you start seeing imports going up, okay, and basically like accelerating if you look at the previous reports. Okay, let's go down to the next slide. And this basically, if you look at traditional exports, this increased by 11.2%. That's mostly copper, to 14.2 billion in March 2021. NTs